Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Moana. Moana is the 56th animated film from the Walt Disney Company, and it very much feels like a Disney animated movie, almost from two different eras. From the previous Disney Renaissance from the 90s, this is the first computer-generated film from formerly 2D directors Ron Clements and John Musker, who are well known for doing two of the big Disney Renaissance movies, both The Little Mermaid and Aladdin, and also combining kind of the new school, the post-Frozen world. This is the first animated musical from Disney post-Frozen, although they've made films after Frozen. This is the first one, and it combines kind of both those styles to make a very Disney-feeling film, but one that doesn't feel as alive and different as most of the recent Disney animated films really have been. It feels almost like a genre Disney animated movie, almost like someone trying to recapture all different things of Disney, but it's an actual Disney movie. That's kind of interesting, but it also doesn't feel nearly as exciting as something like Zootopia, or even the film that this movie is clearly trying to ape the success of, like Frozen. It doesn't really capture all that because it feels like all these various things we've seen before, from the Disney Renaissance structure that's very much playing into the kind of Hollywood blockbuster thing, to having Lin-Manuel Miranda, which feels very much like using someone who's done a quirky, newer kind of Broadway show and bringing them in with kind of established Disney songwriters to make a different kind of Disney score. In a lot of ways, it's a perfectly enjoyable animated Disney movie, and I'm sure you'll have an excellent time, but it's not one of like the exciting, amazing ones that changes the course of the studio. Now, that might be a tall order to ask from Disney, but we've had so many of these recently. A very enjoyable, entertaining film, and a bit of a disappointment just because it falls so much into its genre norms. You think that a studio that has all the money in the world and all the potential in the world, and has two of the great directors doing their first CG film, that maybe you could be asking more from it, even though it does kind of combine these things into making a really entertaining movie. The daughter of the leader of her island, and she will eventually become the leader of the island herself. She's not technically royalty, but sort of pretty much. She's like a Disney princess, but not like officially, but like officially, I guess. And she's just starting to take over her responsibilities as things start going wrong on her particular island, but they tell her that they cannot go beyond the reef because bad things will happen, even though fish are running out and plants are going bad, and clearly something has gone wrong. So Moana decides to go find the god Maui, who supposedly cursed the land and took this heart from Te Fiti and made everything turn to dark and evil across the land. And so she goes to find him, finds Maui, and they make a deal to go across the ocean in a kind of road trip movie, but on the sea. So I guess it's a sea trip movie, to join forces as Maui becomes her mentor, teaching her to sail as they try to bring back the lost heart of Te Fiti and hopefully stop the evil darkness from destroying everything and destroying the island that she lives on. This, I think, does share a lot of things with Frozen, particularly the idea that she has this power over the ocean that feels very magical, but almost kind of like a mutant in X-Men or something. It's like she's suddenly born with it or chosen. It feels very super powery, which is interesting because the whole Disney X-Men Fox thing, which feels very much like what Frozen did, but instead of Elsa with snow and ice, in this Moana controls water, and instead of that being snowy and more Scandinavian in Frozen, this is Polynesian and hotter and controlling water, and there's a lot of similarities. It's interesting because what it does is it's very much living in the post-Tangled, post-Frozen world. There's plenty of times where it's very self-aware about itself. It's kind of interesting, especially Tangled brings to mind what kind of Shrek did before all that, where it's being very self-aware about what it's talking about with fairy tales. It seems like Disney really did a very weird course correction after Shrek, where you have Enchanted, you have Tangled, you have Frozen, and they're very much calling to mind all these kind of genre norms that they in fact inundated us all with, but now it's become a genre norm to call out these things because we're so kind of aware of them, I guess. Moana does that quite a lot, but it doesn't seem to do what Frozen did a lot better than even Tangled, is that do something new with it. This feels new in terms of, you know, she doesn't have a love interest, she has a mentor with Maui. It kind of twists it in a different way, but it feels like a lot of other Disney films we've seen before, and I haven't really seen many Disney films that mix different eras as well as Moana does. I think that's actually kind of interesting, but the experience of watching it didn't feel very exciting. It felt like almost I had seen Moana before. I enjoyed a lot of things about it. It just felt like I was going through another another kind of typical Disney movie, and that didn't feel really as neat as I thought it would. It feels entertaining, and everyone working on this is extremely talented and made for an entertaining, fun time at the movies, but it doesn't really do anything with that. You could read into things about Elsa's isolation and any kind of, gay subtext or any sort of subtext you wanted to put on it, and same with particularly like Zootopia, which came out in March, which is very explicit about what it's saying, and Moana isn't really saying anything with it. It's wonderful that they made an animated film with a Polynesian setting and getting all these actors and everything like that, and I think that's great. It's not really trying to say anything about these broader themes. It feels like you're just seeing all the things like that Ariel did before this, and even something with like Aladdin with a mentor like the genie, or countless other movies. It might be because these guys are from a previous era kind of taking on this new era, and they're trying to bring these kind of different styles together, and it doesn't exactly work to be anything more than things we have seen before. Although I do like that they're exposing us to a different kind of culture through like this kind of mass media, big animated huge movie, which they previously did with Princess and the Frog, although I think this does it a lot better than Princess and the Frog, frankly, although I don't remember Princess and the Frog that well, so I can't say for sure. I think I thought the music to this was probably going to be a little more catchy, particularly because of Lin-Manuel Miranda. Now I know it wasn't just him, although marketing wise, it seems like it's only him. Edipia Foa'i and Mark Mancia, I think they do a serviceable job, but nothing that's incredibly catchy. I do like most like pretending to be educated white people. I like Hamilton a lot, but I didn't feel like the songs were quite as inspired. There was a couple that I liked alright. The only real bright spot was Jemaine Clement has a song that I honestly thought sounded so much like something I've heard from him in Flight of the Conchords that I thought maybe Jemaine Clement wrote that, but from everything I found, it looks like Jemaine Clement didn't write that or Brett from Flight of the Conchords. They wrote it to, I guess, be like a Flight of the Conchords song, which was interesting to see in a Disney film, and I really quite liked it. It was interesting and a little sad to hear Jemaine kind of do a David Bowie type singing voice, and it reminded me that David Bowie never did a Disney film, which is, I find disappointing, but I guess he did Labyrinth, so, which is now a Disney movie, I think. Anyway, that was kind of probably my favorite song in the whole thing. There's certain ones that are interesting and I guess kind of catchy, and I like the song You're Welcome that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson sings to Moana, which is really cool, and even had this interesting sequence that I found the animation so odd, because it was like he has this whole sequence that there's CG and there's some 2D animation on the tattoos on his chest and stuff apparently were traditionally animated, but in this sequence when he's singing the You're Welcome song, it's like they're in a music video with bad green screen, but they make it look like bad green screen, but they're CG characters. So it was like all these different levels. It was like, wow, this is just bizarre. Like that they actually got that effect to look the way it does was like actually really cool. It was just kind of like a quirky thing. Like, why would you even do that? But I thought that was like an interesting, odd visual touch to it. And I actually like the performances, particularly the girl whose name I'm not going to pretend to pronounce, but she was actually really good. She was 14 when she recorded this, which I was like, damn, that's impressive. Like, she was actually very excellent in this. She was very young, and this was like her first role, and she was just really amazing. Dwayne Johnson, or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, to me, I guess, is always just phenomenal in pretty much everything. He's really good at kind of this, almost like kind of like a wrestler, very like as Maui, kind of having this huge ego, kind of big personality mentor. He's just like perfect for that kind of a role, and he really does it very well. Apparently he actually considers voice acting the highest form of acting and took it very seriously, and you can really tell that in this, and I think that's really cool. It shows an actor who has respect for voice acting and can actually do it well. And The Rock has a very distinctive, very vocal, personified voice. It's like perfect for a character who's so like into himself, for a former wrestler to play them. Just absolutely works perfectly. One of the things I found interesting when reading about it is Taika Waititi, who did What We Do in the Shadows, which Jemaine Clement was also in, apparently wrote the initial script for this, but he wasn't credited with the screenplay. Jared Bush was, but if you look at the story by credit, it lists six or seven? Damn, 7 people. Unfortunately, he was not listed. I don't know how much he had to do with it, but I think maybe a little. Some of the funnier moments, I don't know, I might just be attaching that to him. I don't want to like totally disregard Moana, but I think in terms of what we're seeing from animation, and particularly what we're seeing from Disney, and in the same year that we got something like Zootopia, this just feels like kind of more of an easy hit for the Thanksgiving Day weekend, and not something that as an animation fan I'm like, oh my god, they did this, I can't believe they did that. And when I saw Frozen, I didn't really know what to expect from it. And I feel like with Moana, I sort of felt like I knew going in, but I also, while I was watching it, kind of knew what was going to happen while it was going on, and it just felt not as exciting. And that's the one thing I think I was most surprised by and kind of most disappointed by, because I think of this era, the CG era, which I sort of guess starts with Tangled, even though Tangled feels like a previous thing with the princess stuff and all that. But all these films have kind of surprised me in a way, and every time I'm like, oh, well, this is just this thing, or this is just going to be this kind of a movie, it always surprised me, and it's a welcome surprise, and I like being surprised by it. And Moana didn't feel that way. Maybe they've soared too high, and they've pushed their kind of brand to a certain point that I feel like they should be doing that, but maybe it's fine that they just made a very good animated movie that works in a very entertaining way and has decent enough songs. If Illumination had made this, it would be their best movie because they're awful. Or if DreamWorks had made this would be a step up for them. But when thinking about it in terms of Disney, it just feels like a really decently fine Disney movie, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's one that I'm perfectly happy with. It does feel like a movie that's part of an era, not a film that initiates an era. It feels more like Sword in the Stone and less like 101 Dalmatians. And I guess that's fine, but it does feel like very much in the post-Frozen era. It just feels like they have a set formula. What was exciting to see this era take shape is that they didn't have a set formula, and they were playing with what a Disney animated film could be. And I think that's the amazing thing that Zootopia did. That's why people were flipping out about Frozen. That's what made each Disney era great, is because you're like, oh, a Disney movie can be The Jungle Book, a Disney movie can be 101 Dalmatians, can be Little Mermaid restores your faith again, and Moana just kind of like keeps you going, but it's not going to surprise you. Maybe I am asking for too much as an audience. In terms of just like keeping the brand decent, it's probably more Hunchback of Notre Dame than anything else in terms of quality, and I guess I'm cool with that, just like I was cool with Hunchback of Notre Dame. But probably like Hunchback of Notre Dame, I'll probably maybe watch it on TV once or something, but I mostly forget what the hell happened in that movie or who was in it. This is one that you're like, I mean, I'm sort of bored, let's go into this, and you'll be fine and be able to go home and be reasonably entertained. And that's really, I guess, what their job is. But I feel like with animation and what Disney has presently been doing, it's something I am not as excited by. It is interesting to be as excited by something or just be entertained by something, and I guess Moana leans more towards the latter. So if you have seen Moana and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.